One more driver we have to talk about here. I feel like we talk about him almost every week recently, ever since he made this switch over from supercars to NASCAR, but he is certainly making the most of this switch so far. Shane van Gisbergen, doesn't matter that it's on an oval, doesn't matter that it's a completely different kind of racing than he's ever done before. He still comes out of all of that chaos with a third place finish. Joe, can you believe how quickly SVG has adapted to the Xfinity series here?
I gotta say, Shane van Gisbergen, SVG watch, so far, I think a lot of people have to be excited with what happened at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I will say this, of course, we know a lot of folks were running out of fuel, so he did climb up that way. But he ran a smart race. He didn't get himself in trouble. I feel that was one of the things we talked about in the preview of the series was he has to run clean races. He has to log into laps. Especially after the ARCA race, the way he got caught up in that very early crash with Tony Brennan and several others, I thought, okay, it's going to be a lot harder road. But, I mean, Atlanta Motor Speedway, we've heard drivers talk about, is more mentally demanding than Daytona. The way the track's more narrow, the runs are bigger. This could have been an opportunity for a mistake, and especially in the Xfinity series, which this is one thing that surprised me compared to Cup Series. Cup Series, we saw the 2 to 3 wide. Xfinity Series, we didn't really see a whole lot of that. It was very difficult to pass. I think there could have been more opportunities for Shane van Gisbergen to make a mistake, get impatient, get himself in trouble. Complete opposite. Ran a smooth, great race. One of the things I found funny was how Shane van Gisbergen said he needs to learn the drivers who they are because he'll be pushing somebody. And he's like, I have no idea who I'm pushing. I don't know who I'm racing against up ahead of me. It's like, that would be something to know, but yeah. What an effort by Shane van Gisbergen. I think this really is showing that he is taking this very seriously. I don't know what he did to prepare for the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but a big pat on the back for him for doing that. And I think overall, especially for all the fans, Australia, New Zealand, that are watching because Shane van Gisbergen, I think they have to be pretty pumped up that, hey, his path to the Cup Series seems to be continuing to grow. And that oval win might be coming sooner than some people anticipated.
You know, obviously it's a very different reconfiguration from where it was when Juan Pablo Montoya was racing. But, it reminds me his rookie season in Cup. Atlanta was the fourth race in 2007. And he went out and got a top 5 there in the Cup car. So maybe it's something about drivers from different disciplines coming over and running Atlanta as one of their first ovals and finding success there. Now, he tweeted, SVG did after the race, crazy race, but great call to come in and top off with fuel, learn something every lap. And Frank, my spotter, was awesome coaching me through it. P3 and a straight car is an awesome feeling. So, again, I know people are going to say it was, crazy and chaotic with everybody running out of fuel there at the end, but SVG was actually one of the ones that came in to top off and was still able to drive through all that chaos at the end to come home with a third place finish. So thoroughly deserved. And Joe, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do the rest of the year. One more question before we roll into our one shining moment and close the show out. I don't know if Adam's still in the chat room. I know he's on record saying he thinks SVG wins on an oval this year. I think we're all expecting him to get a win at one of the road courses later this season. But do you think, after seeing a run like this, that maybe that would be a possibility for SVG?
It could be. I'm thinking especially Atlanta, the surface was much more rough. So I'm thinking almost Kansas. That is a tricky track to handle. That could be another one where he does really good excel. But at the same time, it could be the opposite. That'd be the one track where we know it catch people out. They struggle, they end up in trouble. So all of a sudden, Kansas seems to be like a potential opportunity just because of the way the track surface, the handling nature of that vehicle. Texas Motor Speedway, I just don't know what to think of that track. I mean, we know that is one of the hardest tracks to race on just because of the two different corners. Doesn't produce the great racing. I think he's really going to need a good qualifying effort to have it. Darlington, the Lady in Black race to racetrack. We know tire wear is a big thing. Controlling the car, that could be another opportunity. So really, it seems to be the track where it's harder for everyone. I think it's going to be one of those tracks where he could stand out. And then, of course, when we come back to Atlanta again, much later on, you got to see him and his favorite. And I haven't touched the super speedways, but that's easily one where him and the entire field could essentially have a good opportunity. But I would not expect him in the short tracks. I think Martinsville, Bristol, beating and banging, I think that's where he's going to be really learning a lot. I don't think he's going to be contending for a win. But now that I said that, watch, he's probably going to win one of those short tracks, and I'm going to be on the record for saying that's not where he's going to get it done.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Martinsville's interesting because it's a lot flatter than Bristol, obviously. So I think that AJ Allmendinger, for example, he tended to run well during his tenure with JTG Doherty at that track. He's obviously a very good road course racer. Maybe there's some success that he could find there. Who knows? But I would venture to probably agree with you on that. Generally speaking, when it comes to short tracks and that type of track, I think is probably going to be where he has the most to learn. If his truck series start last year at IRP is any indication there, which I still think he did a solid job that night, but obviously, was nowhere near a headliner that he was coming in and winning his Cup debut of the Chicago Street Race, or like he was this weekend with an amazing strong finish up in third place.